today we're here with author Shannon Messenger, the author of The Keeper of the Lost Cities. I love this series. So first, thank you so much for being here with us, Shannon.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so much fun.
I'm really excited because you have a lot of fun stuff going on right now. And first, you have right now coming out book 9.5 of this series. We just watched a little clip of it. Tell us a little bit more about your new book.
So this one's a little different if the 0.5 in the title doesn't kind of give that away. It is a book that you definitely need to read it after book 9 and before book 10. So that's why we went with that numbering. And we put the 0.5 in there because we're switching POVs in this one. And we are reading a story from Keith's point of view instead of from Sophie's point of view. We are following him into the human world, where when he runs away at the end of book 8.5, and seeing where he goes and what he was up to. It was not just eating human foods and watching human TV and making fun of human things. I mean, there's some of that too, because he's Keith and he can't help himself. But there's also some really big, important things that happened, and readers will get to live those moments with Keith and understand, hopefully at least, why he decides that he should not tell his friends when he comes back into Stellarloon. He keeps these secrets protected, and they're of course going to come out in book 10. And so it just really felt like readers needed to go on that journey with him to understand what his thought process was and really see what he was dealing with, because he's dealing with some big stuff.
Yeah, and you mentioned that this is new, talking about it from Keith's perspective, because the rest of the books have been from Sophie's perspective. So what is it that made you think, you know what, I need to do this from Keith's point of view? Tell us a little bit more about what made you make that change in your POV.
It really comes down to the fact that, Keith has his own story going on. When he leaves, he has things happen to him that are happening only to him. And even before that, he's a character that is caught up into the story in ways that are exclusive just to him. He's dealing with his own things that have happened to him, changes that he's going through. I don't want to give too many spoilers away. I will say he's got these new powers that he doesn't understand, that he's not sure if he can control. And so he is really grappling with a lot of things independently of all the stuff that Sophie is dealing with. And it just kind of got to this point where I realized, as the writer of the story, that I had this like almost gigantic piece that just needed to be its own thing. Otherwise, we just weren't really going to understand the rest of the story. And so I have gotten this far by trusting the story and just kind of letting it take me where it went. And so even though it meant doing kind of a very drastic change and switching POVs and adding another book to the series, it just felt right. And as soon as I started writing it, it was like, yes, this is the right choice. It started flowing in a way that it had not been when I was just trying to cram all of this into book 10. And so it was just like, clearly, this is the way that this story needs to be told. It's a little unconventional, I realize, having these 0.5 books, but it really is the best way to capture this gigantic story in a way that hopefully gives readers the full scope of everything that's going on.
I agree. I mean, I'm a big fan of yours, so I love it. I love that I get to see that. Speaking of being a big fan, and this is where I definitely want Mario to get in on this, because Mario is a movie expert and you got something going on with movies, right?
I do. It's one of those things where, obviously Hollywood is a long game, and there's, a million little things that have to line up to make it actually become something that's on the screen. But Warner Brothers has optioned the movie rights now, and we have a really amazing team assigned to the project. The producer, Emma Watts, that I've been working with, is an absolute force to be reckoned with. She was head of Fox for like 20 years, features at Fox, I should say. And she has worked on so many movies I loved and made so many amazing things happen. And she is just determined to bring Keeper to the screen and has found an absolutely passionate team of people to bring on board to the project. And so it really feels like we might finally have that winning hand to get us there, but we're still, in that process, in the wheels of Hollywood, getting everything lined up and rolling. So we'll still have to kind of cross our fingers and hope for good news, but it's definitely feeling very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about the long game. It is a waiting game, and you're going to be, clenching your fist the whole time. So I think it's brave of you to get in bed with them. What are your hopes for the series? Do they have to go back, obviously, to the beginning? Is it going to be 9 movies? What can you say about the deal in regards to what are your hopes, and what can they do? What do you hope they'll do?
I know that one of the things that I love about this team is that they are very invested in having it become a franchise, like not just making one movie, putting it out there and seeing what happens. They really are being thoughtful, even to the point of really sitting down and trying to map out what would be in more than one movie, like looking ahead and because obviously things have to change. And in order to be able to adapt the story to the screen. And so they've been trying to really make sure that any changes that they make don't affect things that would happen later on in the series. They've really been trying to create almost like a movie series map of the whole thing, to really think long term as far as building this into a franchise, which is such a weird sentence to say. And it's one of those things where, again, still we have to knock on wood and cross every finger and toe to see if it really happens, because this movie would not be cheap to make. It would be like hundreds of millions of dollars. And so getting the official green light to spend that much it takes quite a few hurdles to clear, but we are tackling them. And again, what's been so great is to really have people on the project who are fans of the series, have read the books, their kids are fans of the series, and they are just really, really passionate and committed. And that honestly is what you need in Hollywood to get anywhere, is to have someone who's like, I'm going to fight through all of this red tape. I'm going to knock down every one of these hurdles, because you're going to hit it, And so it's getting someone who has that level of passion and commitment. And that is the team that I have now. And so again, no film schedule yet, no release date yet, but it really feels promising. So we'll have to see.
Great answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you have your hands full too, because not only do you have, writing your books and working with your movie, but you've got little ones too. How have you, you're a working mom with your hands full. For those of us working parents out there, how do you do it all? How do you juggle it all? Because, I'm sure every working parent out there can say, sometimes I don't know how I do it. So do you have any great tips?
That was honestly what I was going to say. I honestly don't know. It's day by day, sometimes minute by minute, the deadline for Unraveled happened at a time when my children decided to catch every tiny cold and stomach bug that they possibly could. And I had to go back to my editor and say, I need a couple more weeks, because I, had to take a couple of weeks to deal with doctor visits and everything else. And so it really is just a constant juggling, a constant, just working with my husband and like, I need an hour right now. And then sometimes he needs an hour, and we have childcare, we have grandparents. They say it takes a village. I feel like I need 4 villages. I'm still waiting for the other villages to show up. But it's really one of those things that it's important, though, I think, for kids to see that mom is, equally committed to all the parts of her life, that I'm there if they need them, but I'm also, trying to keep true to my obligations and my contracts and all of those things. So they're seeing both sides of the coin there, and I try my best to juggle it for them and really be all things. And hey, I guess I'll sleep in a decade or so, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think all parents kind of think that at some point, right? I'll sleep when they're in college, right? Well, one last thing for you before you go. With your book, can you tell us maybe what's something that you just really, really love in the new Unraveled book?
Ooh, that's hard to pick a favorite scene. I will say getting to write those moments where Keith reacts to human things. There's a scene where he tries Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and that was one of those things where I just thought that would be the funniest thing in the world, because they're such a strange flavor palette. And so I just was like, I love that him finding things with elves on it, him finding clothes with song lyrics on it, and really kind of encountering our world and trying to be authentic to how he would react to these things, being an outsider. It was a very fun perspective to jump into, because I'm always the opposite. So it's Sophie reacting to the elven world and being amazed by it. And so getting to flip that and having Keith amazed by our world was a really fun writing exercise for me.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, you have been so great to talk to. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I know you've got other things to do, like we mentioned.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you next time.